Hi and welcome to this video, and today I'm going to be giving you a overall view of the 010 electric scooter, and I'm going to give you my personal thoughts on the scooter and the ride itself. So let's start taking a closer look at the scooter itself. So here we have the 010 branding, which I think looks really cool. So you can see that they put the branding on the deck as well, and they put it on the stem clamps as well here. So this is a 1,250 pound scooter. It weighs about 22 kilos. It's a rear wheel drive hub motor, which has 1,000 watts, and it has 10-inch front and rear tires. Comes with a rear suspension and a front suspension. Originally it actually comes with mechanical disc brakes. It comes with a very wide deck, which makes it very comfortable for your feet positioning and makes the overall ride much more comfortable. It comes with the trigger style throttle, and it has front and rear brake levers. The handlebars can be folded down, which means that when it comes to storing the scooter itself, it becomes a relatively small package. And then you can obviously bring the stem down using the quick release to make it small, and then you just have to apply pressure here using your foot or your hand whilst pushing the handlebars forward, and that will collapse the stem down to here and will lock into place. In terms of lighting, if I just switch on the lights, we can in terms of lighting. So one of the amazing things about the 09 is the lighting. So firstly, for the basic lights, so we have one rear front light here, and on the deck we have one here and one here, and on the back we have two lights, one on the left and one on the right. And when you press the brake levers, they will flash to indicate that you're braking, which is really good for safety. Not only this, but the stem itself has a really bright and high and vibrant stem light, along with under deck lights. Now, of course, this is a really aesthetic thing to put the blue lights on. However, the main thing is to increase the visibility of the rider. So at night time, you have high visibility, which basically leads for you to have a much safer ride. In terms of the normal lights, they only shine, sort of in front of you, so they're only good to really show your presence when riding. However, in terms of actually lighting up the road, you will want to purchase a high mounted light, for example, like I have here, the Cat's Eye 800, which is super bright. So this will allow you to shine much further and have a much more focused light in front of you. So if you do a lot of night riding, you'll definitely want to purchase that high mounted light, so other drivers can also see you, and also so that you can see the road ahead of you. As you know, London has a lot of potholes, and at night time, if you only use your the original lights, maybe you will not be able to see some of those potholes if you do a lot of night riding. The mudguards themselves, so the back mudguard is really big, so it offers you a lot of protection from the spray that will be coming up from the wheels. And then the front mudguard also is pretty big as well, so that will also help to prevent the spray, or at least some of the spray, from going on to the deck. So in sort of, you know, raining conditions or light rain, I'd never recommend riding in the rain, but if you were ever to get caught in the rain, then at least you know you have some protection against the spray that will come off from the riding. So if we look at the display, so we have a full color LCD display, or controller as you like to call it. This scooter has 3 modes, so we normally start on 1, and then it has 2 and 3. Obviously mode 1 is the slowest and will give the most economy and give you the longest runtime for your battery. And then as you go up the gears, obviously how far you can travel will obviously decrease. I normally personally run it in gear 3 and then just modulate my speed using the throttle here. Personally, I really like the trigger style throttle. For me, it just feels comfortable. I'm able to control it really well. It has really good feedback. And yeah, and then on the display, so we've got the odometer, which basically tells you the number of miles that you have traveled overall. And then we can switch to the trip. So every time you start the machine, the trip will reset back to 0. So I've got it in miles. And then you can see how far you've traveled in your miles. And then you've obviously got your speed here. I've got it in miles per hour. And then you have your battery bar. Now, the thing about sort of high performance or more high-end performance scooters is you need to you need to know about your volts rather than relying on the battery bar, as the battery bar is only an indicator. However, what really tells you how much battery life you have left is the volts. So basically this machine, so with the volts, basically you will know for this particular scooter, I know that when you go down to 40, then that more or less means that you're out of battery. The threshold is about 44. So, and I know that when it's fully charged, I've got about, it says here about 59.4 volts of charge. So you just have to, in your head, sort of calculate, how many volts, and sort of estimate the battery life yourself. Obviously the battery bar does give a estimation of how much battery you have left. However, if you want a more accurate reading, then you need to go by the volts. But this is not a problem, as you will soon get used to this system of using volts to calculate how much battery you have left. Another good thing about this controller is that basically we have a built-in USB port, which in the modern day is very useful, as our phones, especially if you're using it to navigate, you always find, for example, you're running out of battery, and then, for example, you don't have battery for the rest of the day, so you can actually charge your phone by plugging in a USB whilst scooting, which is a really nice feature of this controller. This scooter has really nice grips. They're really comfortable, and these extended panels actually help to keep your hands in a really nice position, to give you maximum control and comfort over your scooter, because your palms can actually rest here and you feel, you know, you can get a good grip. It comes standard with a bell, which I think any electric scooter should have some form of a warning signal. So the bell sounds like that. So it's reasonably loud, but not, you know, jarring, for example, on the rider next to you. And yeah, so overall, I would say this scooter is absolutely amazing. It is on the heavy side a little bit, so, you know, for portability, you know, you can carry it. For me, I always carry it, I don't have a problem. But obviously, you know, if you're going up like 5, maybe 3 or 4 flights of stairs, you know, it's going to get a bit tiresome. But if weight is not an issue, and, you know, your parking is not an issue, because actually this scooter, when folded down, is actually pretty compact compared to how it looks when it's been folded up. So the looks in terms of how small it can get can be quite deceiving, and overall for 22 kilos with its 1000-watt motor, this scooter really you know, packs a punch. You know, there are other scooters that are, you know, less power, less top speed, a much heavier weight, and so this scooter for 22 kilos, 1000-watt motor, they say the maximum speed stated online is 30 miles per hour. I am about 70 to 75 kilos, and I have reached, on a full charge, 35 miles an hour, depending on wind and temperature. But, you know, if you're about a 70 or 75 kilo rider, you definitely won't have a problem reaching 30 miles an hour on a fully charged battery, providing, you know, the wind and you know, the weather conditions are good. You won't have a problem reaching 30 miles per hour. And the tyres on this scooter are really quite big, and actually quite very wide, so they will give you a lot of support, especially as London, the roads in London are not really smooth. They have a lot of potholes, so in terms of your safety when riding, you'll feel very stable. They are pneumatic, so of course you have the risk of a puncture. However, you know, pneumatic tyres are really the way forward, because they offer a lot more grip, you know, as they flex with you as you turn corners and put pressure on different points. They really do cancel out a lot of the bumps, the small vibrations that with a solid tyre, you know, solid tyres will never cancel out those small vibrations. And in this particular scooter, with the Zero scooters, you have the best of both worlds with pneumatic air tyres with suspension. So you've got the pneumatic tyres to basically cancel out all the small vibrations and the little cracks of the road, and then you've got the suspension to basically cancel out some of the bigger bumps in the road, which leads for a really smooth ride. In terms of the suspension, I think the suspension, especially in the rear, looks really cool. And in the front it's subtle, and it looks, it blends in really well with the scooter, so you don't notice it as much. However, it is there, and it functionally it works. The suspension on the back is quite soft, I would say. It really gets working with big bumps or small bumps, and we have a really high raised deck as well, which means, like in terms of the grip from the terrain that you're riding on, and that means, less, you'll be more well protected from the grip from the terrain you're riding on. I would say that the front suspension, which is essentially just a spring, the travel on it is quite short, so if you do hit some quite big bumps, you will notice the suspension will bottom out. But that's only if you hit big bumps at sort of relatively high speeds. If it's just your general riding and you're riding maybe less than 20, you wouldn't really bottom out the suspension. It's only when you really hit those big bumps at higher speeds. The back suspension works really well. It's really bouncy. However, if you hit big bumps at high speeds, you can still bottom out the suspension. But I think the suspension system overall works really well. And so, yeah, it's a really well designed system. The charging port itself has a proper cover, which is really nice, as that helps to protect the port from dust or water damage. Overall, the scooter feels really stable at high speeds. That's due to its weight and its size and the design, and nothing feels loose when you're riding, and it feels really stable at high speeds. In London you wouldn't really struggle to keep up with any of the traffic, as the average speed of London, especially in central London, is about 15 miles an hour, and this scooter's capable of, I would say, up to a good 30 miles an hour, depending on your battery life and weather conditions. But yeah, it's definitely a very, very capable scooter. The fact that it's rear wheel drive really is really nice, because it's sort of propelling you forward from the rear wheel, and therefore you don't have to worry about, for example, the front wheel slipping, because if you have to have front wheel drive, it would be pulling the scooter rather than pushing the scooter forward. And if normally, I think you're not really used to the front wheel slipping, and that could happen if you had front wheel drive. Whereas with rear wheel drive, if the back slips a little bit before it gains traction, then we're perfectly used to just put your foot out of it, and then you'll be absolutely fine. So that really shouldn't be a problem. So the power delivery from the rear wheel is really, really good. Overall, the 0-10 scooter is a real bang for your buck. It's really well built. In my opinion, I think it looks really aesthetically pleasing. The deck is, one of the widest in its class. So that makes, for longer travels really comfortable, and you feel much more stable. And, we've got grip tape in, the sort of like appropriate places. So, of course, you can see over time grip tape, it will get dirty as your feet, put on it. But the grip tape does an amazing job of keeping your feet, stable and planted to the deck. And of course, once it gets dirty, or you feel like the grip tape is no longer doing its job, you can obviously just take it off and change it. But the grip tape in terms of all weather conditions is just amazing. Obviously aesthetically it's not as pleasing as rubber, but in terms of in the wet, in the dry, in the cold, in all weather conditions, the grip tape does an amazing job. Much better than any rubber that I've tried on electric scooters. So the grip tape is really, really good and placed and positioned really, really well. So let's quickly go over some of the pros of this scooter. So one of the pros, of course, it's got a 1000-watt motor and rear motor hub, so it's got plenty of power, potentially more than you're going to need, especially in London. You know, with a 1000-watt motor, you can easily keep up with traffic. Even, you know, I always recommend riding on cycle lanes, but sometimes you have to ride on big open roads, and you can definitely keep up with all the cars and you don't feel out of place, you know. And you've got, you know, more than enough speed to keep up the rest of the cars, and also you've got enough torque to get yourself out of a sticky situation, you know, if you need to, in and around the cities with, you know, all the cars and the lorries. So power wise, you've got a really powerful scooter. For only a weight of 22 kilos, you've got a really powerful scooter. Another one of the pros is obviously the deck. The deck is really wide. You can easily fit all your feet and you can change your positions. It's really grippy, and yeah, it's just an amazing deck. The handlebars fold down, the stems fold down, so in terms of storage it really does fold down into a very, you know, relatively, compared to its size now, a relatively small package. So you can, you know, easily store it. Potentially you could even take it into restaurants or store it next to your desk. Still, that wouldn't be a problem, whereas most other scooters of this size and weight, you may have a problem as they don't fold down as compact as this particular scooter. I can show another pro is obviously, I'll show you one more time. The lighting, as you can see, is really cool. It's not really showing up well in here because my room is not really dark enough, but at night time, yeah, the lighting is really, really good. The rear lights, you can literally see them from like meters and meters away, which is really good because then, you know, driver awareness, drivers can see you from further away, and that means that you'll be more visible and well protected and much more safe. The bottom deck lights, you know, shine in front of you and they can light the way in sort of, you know, street lighted areas, well lit up areas, more than enough. And for me personally, I love the trigger style throttle over the thumb. For me, I think it just feels more like, you know, like a motorbike kind of motor vehicle. And, you know, it's got everything you need clearly: digital dials, speed, your mileage, your lights, and it's, you know, for me it's placed perfectly. It does take a little while to get used to the pressing, using, you know, controlling the brake and the control at the same time, but with a few rides you really do get used to it. And for me, I prefer it to the thumb style throttle. And like the angle of the display is right in front of you, so you don't have to keep looking too far down. You can really, you know, just glance at it and you can see exactly all the information that you would need to ride safely and to ride comfortably. Of course, another pro is, you know, the wheels, like they're pretty big and they're pretty wide, and this will really help when it comes to, you know, riding the surfaces of London and avoiding, you know, not avoiding necessarily, but if you do have to go through a pothole, which sometimes you do in London, definitely you'll feel very safe. You'll feel very safe compared to like much more smaller tires. If you're doing, you know, commuting with this scooter, which I am commuting, then definitely bigger tires. Definitely you feel more confident and safe with these tires. And actually, these particular tires, they're standard, but actually they are much thicker than the tires you may see on other e-scooters. Usually the 8-inch or 8.5-inch scooter tires, these scooter tires are much thicker and therefore much more less likely to get punctures, which is really, really nice. So moving on to some of the cons, I think one of the cons that I personally had an issue with was the original screws located on the side and here are not really like, they hold the mudguard and they're not really well threaded, so you know the mudguard would always come loose very easily, and also actually the mudguard itself, in my personal opinion, is not really of super high quality compared to, you know, the whole machine itself. Like everything else is really high quality, but the mudguard, okay, yes, it does a good job, you know, it's very big and it covers, but it's not really, in my opinion, as high quality as the rest of the scooter. The front mudguard is okay. I mean, I wish that the mudguard would come a little bit lower than the deck so that the spray wouldn't spray on the deck, just because the wires are actually fed through the front part of this cover. So I wish that, you know, they would improve the mudguards. So the mudguard would be a little bit longer on the front, and the mudguard would be a little bit less flimsy and made of better material. So that is one con, I suppose, of this particular scooter. In terms of another con of this scooter, I would say is particularly the front suspension. The travel is quite short, so at high speeds and hitting speed bumps and big bumps, it's not really ideal. Of course, it still does an amazing job over small bumps and at lower speeds, but if you hit bigger bumps or bigger potholes, it does tend to bottom out. So I think a bit more travel would be appreciated on this particular scooter, especially as I'm only about 75 kilos, and if you were 90 kilos, then you'd obviously find the suspension would be probably bottoming out a lot more than it does when I ride. But still, I think, yeah, the front suspension in particular is not perfect. Another con would be, I would say, the handlebars. So with all folder handlebars, you always have this same sort of recurring issue. Obviously some are better than others. I would say that these ones are pretty good, but we always find when they're fully tight, there is no movement in the handlebars. However, due to vibrations, the caps here that tighten the handlebars, especially the right hand side, does come loose quite easily. However, it doesn't really affect the safety of the handlebars, because after unscrewing you have to actually pull out and fold down. So even if when they come loose, you would never, the handlebar would never just fall down because it's still latched in. However, I would personally like to see if there was an improved handlebar, that when you tightened it, it would sort of stay tight until you until you loosened it to actually fold the handlebars down. But it's something you can get used to it, but it would be nice to have the handlebar, these screws fixed essentially. And as I mentioned before, the original scooter did come with a mechanical disc brake. I would say for this particular scooter, mechanical disc brakes are probably not quite sharp enough and powerful enough if you ride this scooter to the extreme. For me, I'm normally always riding at the top end in gear 3, anything between 20 and 30 miles an hour, and mechanical disc brakes on the original mechanical disc brakes were not enough stopping power if something were to happen. However, the one good thing about the mechanical disc brakes is there was a lot of range in them, meaning that even if you even if you squeezed like a little bit, you'd get a little bit of feedback, but then you could squeeze a lot and the wheels wouldn't fully lock up unless you squeeze really hard, which basically means that you'd never really come to a skid. With these Nutt hydraulic disc brakes, which I upgraded, they have amazing stopping power. However, if you squeeze really hard, you will lock the wheels and the wheels will skid. So for beginner riders, potentially who would be riding more slowly, in some ways the mechanical disc brakes would be better, so that you can get used to braking safely, as these are so powerful. These Nutt hydraulic disc brakes are so powerful that you will literally lock up the wheels if you squeeze the lever with some force. You will lock up the wheels and you will skid. And if you're a non-experienced scooter rider, skidding wheels, yeah, you know how that story goes. The battery is actually another pro of this scooter. You've got I believe it's an 18 amp hour battery, which is pretty big for the weight of this scooter, and actually is part of the reason why this scooter is so heavy, is because it's got such a big battery. And the range of this scooter, I normally ride in gear 3. I ride with a hefty right hand, averaging usually about 22, maybe 24 miles an hour, depending on the traffic. And I can do a bare minimum of 20 miles, a real world 20 miles, in any conditions. I can do minimum of about 20 miles, which is more than enough for most average commuters. And with the 1000-watt motor, this machine really can accelerate up hills and just keeps going. Haven't been on any hills yet where I've struggled to accelerate up the hill if I had good, relatively a good percentage of battery life left. So in terms of battery life and how far this scooter can go and the power that it can maintain, because obviously a lot of scooters, they can start fast at 90% battery, but as soon as they drop the percentage of battery, their power level just drops like a dime. So this scooter really is very robust. It's just a machine. It can just keep going on for a very long time, maintaining that same power level. You don't feel like it's getting weaker or anything. So really, for me personally, it is a perfect commuter scooter. It is on the little bit of the big side, so if you're going to need to go into like a lot of shops or restaurants, I mean, it is a little bit big for that purpose, but in terms of, you know, safety and, you know, feeling comfortable and, you know, speed and having confidence that, you know, that you're going to be safe and you're going to actually get to your destination and you've actually got enough battery to make your whole journey. Like if you did a commute around London, you'd be confident that you have enough battery to go the whole distance and make it home safely. I mean, this is really your scooter. I mean, there are other scooters out there that are well over the price of this particular scooter, and they really don't come close to zero scooters. I mean, you really get, you know, obviously £1,250 is a lot of money, but you're getting a lot of scooter for your money, and you're getting quality and, you know, quality premium product for your money. You know, it's a comfortable ride, it's a safe ride, and, you know, at the end of the day, you know, riding e-scooters, you know, is fun. It should be fast, but, you know, it should be safe. And on this scooter, you really feel, you know, safe. So, and then you get, you know, good portability for its size compared to other scooters in its class. And so yeah, overall, I mean, value for money, I would give this scooter 9 out of 10. You know, in terms of safety, you know, I would give this scooter a good, you know, solid 8 out of 10. Its looks for me, you know, are a good 8 out of 10. So in terms of safety, it's a good 8 out of 10 as well. So it really is a fantastic scooter. And that's more or less the overview of this 010 scooter. I will probably be doing other videos on this particular scooter about some of the upgrades that I personally did on this scooter, you know, like the tow hook and the hydraulic disc brakes, and I'll be giving you some feedback on those accessories. I'd like to thank you all for watching this channel. This is the first video that I've put up, although I've had about 6 e-scooters since before this scooter actually, but yeah, this is the first one that I've actually got around to actually putting a video up on. I would like to give a massive shout out to the guys at Personal Electric Transport in near Walthamstow Central. Their PET. Massive shout out to Roberto and his team. They're the guys who have supplied this scooter to me. They've got a warehouse workshop over there where they've got demos that you can try, and they're such a friendly bunch of people, and the service that you get from those guys is excellent. You know, whenever you have any, you know, for example, if you had any problems, any questions, literally anything, if you're first time riding your e-scooter, trying to purchase your e-scooter, if you need help trying to decide which e-scooter you want, they're really going to help you, and they have knowledge to guide you to find the best e-scooter for you, because everyone's needs are slightly different, everyone's in slightly different situations. You know, they're not going to rip you off your money and tell you to get the most expensive scooters that just would be completely unnecessary for some people, and they'll try and help you find the best e-scooter to suit the needs of, you know, the consumer really. And most importantly is, you know, it's all well buying an e-scooter and, you know, they just drop ship and they never opened up the box and nothing, you know, they just sell the scooter, and then when things go wrong with the e-scooter, which will happen, end of the day it's a machine, it's a mechanical machine, things do happen, and then when that happens, you know, there's no service, there's nothing, and basically you've spent your money on something that basically just will have no, you know, aftercare for it. But with PET, they do all the servicing afterwards themselves. They offer the servicing at 1,000 miles for free. You've got, like, on the zero scooters, you've got a 1-year warranty. With the E2 scooters, you've got 2 years warranty. But yeah, basically PET, a great company. I'd like to give a big shout out to those guys because they've been looking after me with all my scooters since I purchased from them, and they've really done a fantastic job of looking after me, making sure I'm safe, making sure my scooter's in the best riding condition possible. Any problems, they're really responsive to emails. So contact with them is just amazing. Like they can try and help you with like modifications, accessories that you may want to upgrade, and give their own personal opinion on whether they think those accessories will be suitable for your needs. So basically any questions that you have will be answered, and the after service of buying the product, you will feel satisfied and secure that you bought a scooter from a company who will take responsibility and look after you, and your scooter once you've actually purchased from them. So yeah, if you like this video, please hit the like button, and if you'd like to see more videos, please subscribe. And one last thing I'd like to mention is with the regulations in the UK, as we know, it's all illegal at the moment, but not even for the law, but please be sensible with your riding. The e-scooters are a fantastic way of transport. They're green, they're cheap, but end of the day, you need some of these scooters, for example, like this one, are very powerful and just need to be very careful. Enjoy the scooter, live it, but you need to be very careful and drive safely for the sake of other road users and also for your own safety. Always wear your helmet, try to ride in cycle lanes if you can. Don't ride on pavements. Be considerate of all the users and people walking. Try not to cut in front of cars or things like this, or disrupt the riding route of other people or paths of other people, and just ride safely and just blend with the traffic and get to your destination in a safe, fun, green way. And the future of e-scooters is looking very bright, so ride safe, stay safe, always wear your helmet and gloves if you have some, and continue to enjoy the ride of e-scooters. Thanks for watching this video, guys, and hope to see you in the next one.